I would not want to go through what we went through as a family again. I would not want to do that. But I would not trade what it did to and for our family.
That's good.
Because those experiences seared our hearts together like no other thing could have.
What up? What up? What up? What up? We are back again. Listen, man, welcome to another edition of the Father's Heart Podcast, man, with your boys Sean and Cole. Hey, listen, tonight we do not have Mr. Cole. We have one of my really, really good friends who is sitting in the seat of Mr. Cole Williams himself. One of the things that you guys have in common. Do you know what you have in common, Jody?
I have no idea other than he's got a beard, I got a goatee.
Hey, both of you got white in your beard. That's what
we
you
got a lot of white.
Yeah, that's what you brothers have in common, man. So listen,
I had to sit down because there's no standing in his shoes, man. He's a giant among men.
Yeah, man. Just be praying for him. That's my brother, man. He is a little under the weather tonight. And I said, man, we'll hold it down for you. So as soon as I get off here, I'll be checking in on him. But listen, man, I don't want to belabor the point. Jody, I asked you to come on tonight because you have written not one but two books. And before we get into your new project, I definitely want to talk to you about your first project, right? Because your first project is what is crazy is that I met you right in the beginning of your new project, and man, we have been friends ever since. And so, Jody, I know some of my people that rocks with me seen you on here before. But you are being introduced to some who don't know you. So I'm gonna put you on the spot, man. Who is Mr. Jody Sedrick?
So first and foremost, I am a happily married man for 35 years. Judy and I's 35th anniversary was just this past Sunday.
35.
Love being
35.
married. 35, baby, 35.
Wow.
And I have six amazing kids, two of whom we adopted from Haiti. And dude, I own my own business. I became part of your program in 2018. And dude, it's just been 5 years of growth, walking with you, learning from you, and being part of your circle. It's just been amazing. So,
Yeah, man, Jody, I appreciate you, brother. Man, you definitely killing the game in your own right. So don't try to make your what you do small, because you are definitely killing the game. Well, let's get right into it, man. You wrote a book, man, a few years ago, bro, and I had a chance to read it. Had a chance to dissect that with you, and it was basically talking about navigating currents, right? Especially as a father, you talk about your father's six, and so when you talk about navigating, the currents of life, what was the thing that inspired you as a father, bro, to write about navigating, the currents and dancing with the currents and all of those other currents, man? What inspired you to write that?
well, straight up, it came out of a turbulent time in my family's life. And it actually stemmed from a conversation you and I had. I was in a dark place. My adopted son, Ashton, was going through some really heavy situations that had potentially lifetime consequences. And man, I just remember I was walking, dude, I felt like God had abandoned me. And I was just walking, I'm pouring out my heart to God in prayer, and I'm trying to figure out what to do. And out of the blue, you called me and you said, Jody, man, you're on my mind. You're on my heart. What's going on, brother? I feel like there's something that you need to talk about. Man, I just poured my heart out to you, and you were so kind and patient and listened. But you said something that really hit me. You said, Jody, you got to learn to dance with the currents of life and trust that God has you and your family. And man, that just hit my heart because my family and I, we spend so much time in water, whitewater rafting, diving, surfing, water skiing. And it got me thinking about all those times where I've been in water. And as you know, water is the most powerful force on the earth. And unless you know how to navigate and move with it, the water will crush you, it will drown you. And so I started thinking about all of my experiences in water. Like one I was thinking about before we got on here, when we adopted our kids, one of the biggest challenges was that we adopted them when they were older. They were 8 and 9. They had a lot of emotional trauma. And so we brought them into our home, and trying to build a bridge of trust into a kid who has had their heart broken is really tough. And my family, as you know, we spend a lot of time wake surfing and being out on the tube in the water. And so we took our kids out that first summer, and my daughter Cynthia, she was so afraid to get in the water. And we're out in the middle of the lake, right? There's no shore, you can't touch the ground. And we were sitting on the back edge of the boat, and she just didn't want to get in the water. And so I'm like, all right, here, let's sit on the platform so that way you get your butt wet, and then grab my hand and we'll go into the water together. And so I went into the water, and she kind of reluctantly was on the edge, and I kind of pulled her into me, and she just grabbed my neck and just started choking me. I'm like, Cynthia, breathe, breathe. It's okay. I got you. Look in my eyes. Look in my eyes. Right. And so she was put into deep waters, both emotionally, physically, both in our family and in that situation in the water, where she had to trust me. And it really opened up my eyes to go, you know what? Sometimes we feel like we're swimming in deep waters. God's put us in deep waters, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to keep our head above water.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I came from. And so I've taken 15 different stories of my experience in water and tried to apply them to tough challenges in life, and to help us move with them in concert with the currents that they bring to us, but also the currents that God's taken us.
And man, you said so much. You said so much right there, right? And I remember when we were talking, um, when you was telling me about your situation, and I tell you, bro, a lot of times when we go through circumstances, we hate having to go through them, right? We always, and I'm not gonna say we always. I take that back. Sometimes we want to avoid the process of becoming, and so when you and I were talking about your circumstance at that time, I wasn't talking to you from a place of what I think you should do.
No.
I was able to give you some advice or to encourage you in that moment because I had to learn how to dance with the current, right? Because what happens is that I can't change the current. I can't change the circumstance, right? Like when that wave come in, it comes in. And I don't know how to swim. I don't know how to swim, right? To save my life, bro. And that's the same thing is when life hit me. I never was. at that place before. I never experienced what I was experiencing. And so instead of me throwing in the towel and panicking, I had to learn how to navigate what was thrown at me. And so when you contacted me, all the only advice I can tell you is I couldn't tell you it's going to be all right because I knew I was in a circumstance or a situation where I wanted my circumstance to change. And bro, my circumstance didn't change, but I changed. I changed.
Yes.
And so when I
Yeah.
was telling you that, I can't promise you it's going to work out the way you want it. I can't promise you that you're going to feel better tomorrow. But what I did know is that the thing that will sustain you one more day would be learning how to dance with the current. And that was my
Yeah.
only advice, man. And a lot of times when we look at life today, especially with men, we always want to figure it out. We always want to be in control. And sometimes the best control is just learning how to relent and just know
Mm.
how to float. My wife, one of the things that she tried to teach me how to do was to float. Still don't know how to float.
I
But
can't
that's one of
float.
this. Would you say you can float?
I can't.
See,
I
but the thing,
sink like a rock.
but you know how to swim,
Yes.
right? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, man, is that you can only do what you can do,
Yeah.
and that's
Well, when
important.
I think one of the things to recognize is that sometimes the current hits you, and sometimes you put yourself in the current. And then when we're in the current, we want to blame everybody else instead of owning the situation where we're in, right? And well, like this one time, we spent a lot of times for years whitewater rafting. And this one trip, we'd been rafting all day, and we pulled over to have lunch. And I took off my life jacket and I walked back up the shore. And all day I had been thinking about, oh man, it would be so cool to ride the rapid, just me, right? No boat, just me, right? Because I'm crazy enough to try it. So I get up to the top of the rapid. I jump onto a boulder, jump onto another boulder. I'm in the middle, and the water's just rushing around me. And so I jump in, forgetting I don't have my life jacket on.
Mm.
Oh man, that water pushed me straight down. I hit a rock, it tumbles me. I come up gasping for air. And, just as I'm gasping, I topple again. And by the time I got through the rapid, I I didn't have strength hardly to pull myself to shore. Right. And it would be easy to go, man, it was the waves' fault. It was the rapids' fault. But Jody jumped into it. I naively and boldly jumped into this wave. And then I could easily complain against it about the circumstances instead of when I got done, whoa, that was really stupid. So
Yeah.
what do I got to do next time to make sure that I don't put myself and maybe my family in that kind of situation? Because it could have had devastating consequences.
And that's real, man. I look at I was a gentleman made a decision, right? With one of our programs, a father um, got really emotional, right? Because he couldn't have access to his child um, the way that he wanted to. And so the courts have been involved and gave him access, right? And it was a plan and a strategy in place. Like there's a process that they wanted to see him go through. And the process works. See, I'm on the outside. I see where the process work. But because he's so close to it and he doesn't know how the end works, he's so focused on like right now. Um, and apparently he didn't really ask for counsel from those that's closest to him, or he just didn't have any wise counsel in his circle. But he decided to take matters in his own hands, right? On how he was going to expedite the situation. And so, because he made a decision to try to expedite and take matters in his own hands, all he did was cause himself um, to be to go in the back of the line, to do it all over again.
Mm.
And a lot of times, man, when we don't know how to regulate our emotions, when we don't know how to process what we are feeling, I tell people, man, when I'm working with guys, I don't ask them how they feeling. I don't ask how they feel, because they get stuck at not knowing how to express it. And so
Yeah.
what I say to them is like, what are you thinking? What are you thinking right now? And when I ask that question, then they're able to start to express how they feel, but they start with what I'm thinking, and then it leads to how they're feeling at that moment. And when you're talking about, whitewater rafting and, navigating, these currents, um, is extremely important that we don't become so emotional that we panic in the middle of the ocean, that we don't
Yes. I
panic
mean,
in the middle of the process, right? That we don't panic and just throw everything overboard. Like, yo, there are safety um items inside the boat for you to float, just in case if this is not working, there's something else that you can use. And a lot of times, man, we throw out the baby with the bathwater. We just abort and abandon ship instead of allowing the process to run its course as men and as fathers. And that is one of the biggest things that I'm trying to help men today with, of learning how to regulate their emotions and process accurately what they're thinking and what they're feeling. Like, what I'm thinking and what I'm feeling can contradict one another. And so
yeah.
I'm just like, yo, let's step back and let's process this before we really react on how we feel, because the feelings will lie to you, man. Especially when you're in a
Feelings will
storm.
let you, especially when you're in the storm. And it's just like, when I went over that first rapid, I knew I was in trouble, right? And I think a lot of times when the current of life hits us, we're hoping that God's just going to reach down with his all omnipotent hand, pick us up, and put us on dry land. But what he does is he allows us to go through the storm so that we can become more than we were at the beginning of the storm. Because, dude, when I hit the first thing, the first thing that hit me was panic, right? I don't have my life jacket on. Oh, crap. What am I going to do? All right. What is the key thing when you're running through a rapid and you don't have your raft? You need to point your feet downriver, right? So I started becoming very mechanical about, all right, what do I got to do
What does
to
that mean?
keep my
You
head
you you
above?
talking you talking
So,
language that we don't know. What does that mean?
yeah, so let me explain that. That's a good question. So when you fall out of a raft, right? uh, The first thing you want to do is point your feet so that they're downstream instead of upstream, because you don't want to be facing backwards going down the river. And the reason why is because you don't want to hit a boulder or a tree or something like that in the back of your head. And so if you put your feet down river, you can use your legs and feet as a shock absorber to push yourself off obstacles that either you can't see or that you can see. So it's important to make sure that when you're in the middle of this chaotic situation, that you get your mind and your spirit positioned correctly, because when you're aiming in the right direction, you can see what's coming ahead, you can respond appropriately, and allow yourself to navigate through this really tumultuous time of your life.
What's up, Father's Heart podcast family? Yeah, we have sponsorships now, and this week's sponsor is none other than Involved Dad. So listen up, fathers. Are you looking for a deeper understanding to understand fatherhood and make a positive impact in your children and families' lives? Look no further than Involved Dad, right? Where we create strong fathers through fatherhood engagement, right? It's extremely important for children to have fathers that are not only showing up, but they are showing out, that they are fully invested, they are fully engaged. So this week's sponsor is an agency, man, that knows the ins and out of fatherhood and know how to strengthen families, know how to fill the gaps and connect families to the right resources so they can live their best lives and become more and more successful. So listen, if you need assistance, if you know someone who need help on fathering, on parenting, co-parenting, or a father that is just struggling, right? That he does not know how and what to do about his next move, because this game that we call this life that we live, sometimes, man, it's like a game of chess, right? Like knowing your next move. And at Involved Dad, what we do, we help fathers make their next best move. So reach out to us, right? The number is 313-757-1388, and you can find us on the web as well, and that is involveddad.org. No S, because a lot of people put Involved Dads, although we want Involved Dads, but it's involveddad.org. So yes, listen, don't be average, you might as well be elite in your parenting and in fatherhood. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good, Jody. That's really good, man. Is you talk about you're talking about pointing your feet downstream, right? Down river, so that way it would be a buffer, right? That will be a
Yeah.
buffer against what's gonna come at. Because you're saying, like, listen, something's gonna come at you, right? You can't prevent it. You can't stop it. But what you can do is that you can lessen the casualties, or you can lessen the amount of force that is going to come up against you, man. That's really good. I look at, man, early on, not even early on, but a part of my faith, man, when I was really, somebody asked me, man, it's crazy. Somebody asked me earlier, they was like, yo, so what happened when you met your wife? How did you know your wife was the person, and how did you get close to God to where you was really intimate and the whole nine? And I told him, I said, you know what, mine was different, bro. I said, I'm just keeping 100. Mine was different. I can't tell you, like, this whole thing came over me and it was this. I said, when I first got established my relationship with God, mine was transactional. That's what
Mm.
drew me. It was
Mm-hmm.
transactional because I was like, yo, I didn't want him um, originally, because I'm like, man, those who I saw was serving him. It's just like they was always struggling, and it was woe is me. So I'm like, man, why do I need to serve, a deity that wants me to be a pauper, right? But what happened is that he tricked me. He exposed me to a ministry where they were believing next level, where they were executing at a very high level, a word of faith type ministry, and that was the thing that really drew me closer. Right, so it wasn't about relationship; it was transactional. And then the closer I got, then I got bored with that. Not just bored, but I knew I wanted more. And then he exposed me to a more intimate relationship, to where I found a new ministry where it birthed the spiritual side uh, in me, where I became really intimate with him. And he began to show me another side of him, right? He showed me how to use the word of faith, but also how to use his word to become more intimate. And so, in the midst of that relationship, he taught me, Jody, that I need to fight, how to fight and build at the same time.
Yeah.
Had I not went through that process of him really teaching me how to use the word of faith and how to be intimate, I don't think that I would have ever known that there was a such thing of fighting and building, because it would have been so one-sided where it has just to be emotional or it has to be just transactional. But I've learned how to fight and build, so when life throw things my way, because they're going to throw things my way, and so I realized, like, yo, Sean, you got to fight and build at the same time, right? There may be a time of reprieve and you get a rest, but you have to. He talks about that you got to watch and pray, right? And so what you're saying, man, is so powerful to me, because that is something that I have embraced for years now. Is that, Sean, you got to always be in a position where you're fighting and building. And there may be a season where you're building and you don't have to fight, but you need to be in a position and ready that whenever a storm come your way, you don't have to get ready, that you will be ready.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you talk about your mindset, when you're talking about just being positioned when life happens and when life come at you and when your boat has a hole in it.
And that's gonna happen, man. It is gonna happen. I like the idea of fighting and building, right? Because I think, especially as a dad, a lot of times we feel like all we're doing is fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We're trying to get the kids to do this. We're trying to get them up on school on time, to execute at a higher level. All those things that we try to do as a dad to instill responsibility and confidence and leadership. And a lot of times I feel like we feel like we're fighting against them all the time. And I think one of the things that we as dads need to do is sometimes we need to step back and let the kid move with the current that God's blessed them with, and trust that they have the gifts that allow them, and we can just serve as a captain to give them guidance as they move through.
That's good.
Just like it's like I was talking to my daughter Essentia a couple months ago, and we had this great
It sounds like
conversation in my
Essentia gets a
podcast.
lot of. It sounds like Essentia gets a lot of talks.
Oh, she and I have a lot of talk. She and I had a lot of growing to do. And we had this great podcast. It's called Let Me In. And she talked about how she made a statement. She's like, Dad, we only got close as soon as I decided to let you in.
That's good.
And that really hit me. And so we talked about the process of earning her trust, of helping her work through the emotional trauma that she went through at a very young age, and how me allowing her that space to grow, to be her punching bag, because sometimes I was taking the brunt of it, because the hole in her heart is in the shape of her dad, right? And so sometimes I was the brunt of the healing process, right? And I told her, I said, Cynthia, I would not want to go through what we went through as a family again. I would not want to do that. But I would not trade what it did to and for our family,
That's good.
because those experiences seared our hearts together like no other thing could have. And so now we are unified. We are tight. I mean, dude, if Cynthia comes in, she's probably going to run into the room, give me a big old hug and laugh, tickle me and run off and go, I interrupted you, right? That's just kind of our relationship. But it was hard earned through the furnace of adversity. And sometimes we were fighting through it. Sometimes we were tag teaming, Judy and
That's
I.
good.
But through the process, we were
Good.
able to build something beautiful.
That's good. That's good. That's good, man. That's good, Jody. And the thing about it, man, is that come with a price, right? It come with a cost. It come with a price. And a lot of times, man, we don't want to pay the price because we want instant gratification, right? You want her to get it right now. You don't want her. Um, you don't want to have to go through all of the nights of arguing, and I have to win this battle and I have to win this argument. It sounds like you just said what she need is more important than the way you feel, right? Because on the outside, people will be like, "Yo, what type of house my man running? Where his kids are talking back, or they are not responding the way my kids would respond." Um, so Jody, kudos to you, man, because I know the process. I know what you went through to get what you have, and kudos to you, man, as a father. Um, just surrendering, right? Just surrendering and becoming who your children and your wife needed you to become for them, and that's huge. That's
Well,
huge.
and it and it's a process, dude. I mean, you said it. We just want to jump to 5 steps ahead. Well, if you try to jump ahead, inevitably you got to revisit the steps you tried to leap over
That's good.
because you don't have any foundation to build upon to jump you from 2 to 10.
That's
You
good.
got to revisit those steps, and because you got to have that foundation to move forward.
That's good. And so, Jody, as we come to a close, man, I know we talked about your first book, man, but I know you are launching, or you just launched at the brink of launching this new book. What is this new book? Not only a one-time author, you're a second-time author. So, Jody, what is the name of this new book, man? How can people get it? What should they expect? Um,
So so it's actually going to print this weekend. I had
Kudos.
one last little piece that I wanted to add, and I had Judy proofread it, and so it will be going into Amazon and Barnes and Noble this week for publishing. So hopefully in the next couple weeks it'll be available for everybody. But the name of the book is "But How Far Must I Go?
That's good.
A Journey in Faith."
How far must I
Beca-
go, man?
Because I think a lot of times we oversimplify faith. How many times are we in the middle of a storm, in the middle of a trial, and you're feeling a little bit hopeless? You're wondering where God's hand is. You're wondering when He's going to answer your prayers. And somebody says, just have faith. God's got you. And you're like, well, is my faith not strong enough? Because God hasn't been hearing me, or at least I don't feel like He's been hearing me. So I've tried to really look at, I've taken a number of experiences once again in my life and tried to be real about the process of developing deep and abiding faith, not only in God, but yourself and in other people.
That's good.
So yeah, it's been an amazing journey, dude. It's given me a lot of time in the scriptures. I've tried to interweave biblical story scriptures in there with the stories so that people can see the scriptural references that I'm trying to apply to our lives, and give some real world examples of, dude, how do we get through these crazy times and
Yeah,
not lose faith and not lose hope?
that's good.
Because how many people lose faith and hope because they have no purpose, they have no vision, but most importantly, they don't have a relationship with God and feel like God's walking with them. So I want people to feel like, yeah, maybe you're walking in darkness, but God's walking you. He's walking with you. He just may be in the shape of a friend, or just outside of prayer, or just a lot of different ways to tackle faith. So
That's good, man. Well, I can't wait to be able to get my hands on this new book, and I'll make sure that we share it when we release this episode of the podcast with the snippets, man, and make sure that we have the link with it so that people can support your ministry. Jody, listen, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. I appreciate the God that's in you. I appreciate uh, the man that you are, a man of integrity, and you're a go getter, man. You're a servant, and I appreciate you, bro. You've been extremely supportive to me and my work, and just been laboring behind the scenes, man. And I'm forever indebted to you for that. So I just want to let you know that I appreciate you and all the work that you do, man. And may God just continue to bless you and your family and your hands and the work that you do, man, because the work that you do is definitely necessary. It's your ministry in this hour. And I just ask that you would just continue to be faithful to that, and continue to bless the people that God has placed in your life, man. So, yeah, appreciate you, man. I appreciate all our listeners tonight. May you guys be blessed. May you guys sleep well, sleep fast, allow God to do what He do, right? Just rest in Him. Uh, just know that He working on something, right? And I just need you to be working on something. You were bought with a price. Yeah, you was bought with a price. And just remember this, man. Just go ahead and dominate your lane. Nobody can do it like you. Just dominate your lane. Don't look to the left. Don't look to the right. Just stay focused on your assignment. And somebody need to hear this tonight. All right, remember this. You hear me say it all the time, but somebody need to hear it. Don't chase the bag. Chase your assignment. Jody, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for being with us, all right?
Well, thank you, brother. It's been an honor. And, dude, I cannot tell you how much I love you and the work that you do. And whatever I can do to support you, I am all in, brother. All in.
Let's get it.
Let's get it.